Take a listen at the Burkina-Faso Prime Minister Dr. Apollinaire Joachimson Tambala make a revelation that some members within the Burkina military and the volunteers for the defense of the homeland are being manipulated by external actors, so as to let the guard down or fail to fully follow instructions from Captain Ibrahim Traoré while in their daily operations. That, such is a reality of how things were in Barcelona ahead of the August 24, 2024 terror attack that led to the death of more than 200 civilians who were digging war trenches, but who were not provided with adequate protection by the FDS and VDPs, as required under President Traoré's instructions in the event of such a collective public mobilization exercise. This is a speech that the Prime Minister delivered on the Wednesday of September 11, 2024, as he presided over the traditional ceremony of raising the colours at the office of the Prime Minister, a speech in which he cited the 1970s assassination of a Chilean president by fellow Chileans who were manipulated by the American capitalists, who were threatened by his presidency, as a lesson that Burkinabés should take seriously. Comrades in the struggle, the lesson we can learn from this month of September is this. He who does not remember the past will be condemned to relive it. So I repeat, he who does not remember the past will be condemned to relive it. Hence the importance of knowing history, both one's own history and that of others, so as not to have to unnecessarily seek to reinvent the wheel in pain. Dans la douleur. Il y a de cela 51 ans. 51 years ago, a day like today, that is on September 11, 1973, somewhere in the world, a statesman was assassinated. An elected president of the Republic. He had proceeded to nationalize the country's banks and mines, then undertook a policy of social reform, thus directly attacking American interests, in particular the interests of the ITT, the International Telephone Telegraph Company, that was created in 1920, and which since then had diversified its field of activity, touching on almost all economic areas. Avait diversifié son champ d'activité, touchant presque tous les domaines économiques. This man was called Salvador Allende, President of Chile. On December 4, 1972, at the podium of the United Nations General Assembly, Salvador Allende solemnly declared the following. I accuse ITT in front of the conscience of the world of wanting to provoke a civil war in my homeland. Less than a year after this statement, he was assassinated. Allende had been elected on September 4, 1970 by a coalition of popular unity, that is to say, by the small people of the workers and the left to be in Chile. As soon as he was elected, the CIA had warned that it was preparing a military intervention to remove him from office, to overthrow him. The Americans would not look far. They went through part of his own electorate that he rallied to the Chilean bourgeoisie. They used the unions to divide the ruling coalition. In particular the truckers' unions that they financed to organize endless strikes, including the blockade of traffic routes. This contributed to worsening the situation and favoring the advent of the counter-revolution with the bloody putsch of General Augusto Pinochet. Honest workers were far from imagining that their union had been bribed by the Americans to destroy Chilean society. They were thus actors in their own misfortune because the regime of General Augusto Pinochet, who took power following the assassination of Allende, was merciless towards the Chileans, particularly for the little people in struggle. A non-exhaustive report states more than 3,000 dead and missing, 38,000 tortured, hundreds of thousands exiled, 300,000 dismissals in the first 12 months. Western governments that claim to defend human rights saw no violation of these rights in Chile. On the contrary, he was congratulated and even knighted by the British government. In the so-called third world countries, as soon as a single hair of a local servant of imperialism is touched, the West with all its might falls on you. On the other hand, a leader who licks the boots of Westerners can kill and massacre as he wants, with even the encouragement of the West. The example of Chile bears witness to this, as well as the case of African countries. The lesson of this story is that imperialist capitalists are very cunning and know how to use everything to achieve their ends. There is also a lesson that people are not always what they claim to be. Who would have thought that unions supposed to fight for the betterment of workers and their country would team up with American imperialist capitalists to destroy their own country? We will also remember that the bait of gain and unbridled ambitions can transform man or his fellow men. We therefore need a lot of discernment in behavior and judgment so as not to let ourselves be drawn into dead-end adventures by lawless people who wear borrowed clothes to better deceive their victims. We are all witnesses to the drama that took place in Barcelona on August 24, 2024. This could only be possible because we have been deceived. The head of state gave the necessary instructions for the protection of populations in cases of collective mobilization, as was the case in Barcelona. Why were the instructions not followed? Let us look around us each time with discernment, by asking ourselves the right questions. Are we certain that we have the right understanding of each situation? Are we certain that we are not victims of manipulators, for whom we are only means to achieve their objectives? Let us take care and meditate on the events of September 11, 1973 in Chile. Let us become aware of the realities of the moment, so as not to be surprised by history. Homeland or death is ours.